Hi there everyone, my name is Zach and welcome to my channel. Amongst other things, I am a reenactor and a jouster, and in early July I would normally be going to Tewkesbury Medieval Festival. So I've decided to do this video and talk a little bit about the Battle of Tewkesbury and some things that are close to my heart in regards to that battle and how we reenact things in the 15th century. Like I said, in the second weekend of July, I'm usually getting ready to head off to Tewkesbury, which is a town on the western side of England. I live inside the M25, so it takes me quite a while to get from one side of the UK to the other. I should say one side of England to the other. It's not really as far as the other side of the UK. Anyway, so usually I leave work on the Friday around about 5 o'clock. I head towards the M25. Depending on how kind that is, I can spend quite a long time getting across England, and I end up in Tewkesbury in the late evening and have to put up my tent in the dark. But what I wanted to talk to you about today is something quite interesting in the account of the Battle of Tewkesbury. Now, I'm going to read from the Osprey campaign book, Tewkesbury 1471. But the part that I'm reading is actually a direct quote from The Arrival, which is a 15th century manuscript that tells the story of the Battle of Tewkesbury, amongst other things. Okay, so this is part of The Arrival, and it's talking about what Edward, the Yorkist king, was doing during the battle. He considered that upon the right hand of their field there was a park, and therein much wood. And he, thinking to purvey a remedy in case his said enemies had laid any ambush in that wood of horsemen, he chose out of his fellowship 200 spears, and set them in a plump together, near a quarter of a mile from the field, giving them charge to have a good eye upon that corner of the wood, in case that any need were. Okay, it goes on a bit further, but I'm going to stop there because it's quite hard to read sometimes. The cadence of a 15th century text is quite different to what we would expect today. Now, a couple of things there. First of all, love the term plump when talking about a group of soldiers. That's a great word to use there. Secondly, where it says he chose out of his fellowship 200 spears and set them in a plump, it's not talking about the weapon spear, it's talking about 200 men-at-arms. It's very likely as well that those men-at-arms might also have small households of their own. So we might be talking about maybe 600 men, but it's anywhere between 200 and 600 men. Okay? Now, it specifically says in this that Edward is worried about horsemen laying an ambush. Now, his dad was killed in an ambush, so it seems very likely that he would always have that on his mind whenever he was working on a battle plan. What it doesn't say who he's sending. So he's sending men-at-arms. It doesn't say that he's sending horsemen himself. Some people think that he did. Some people think that he didn't. I personally think that he did, and some people will say, well, Zach, obviously you think that he did because you're a jouster and you like to talk about cavalry and things like that. And anyway, Zach, we all know that in the 15th century the English armies tended not to use cavalry. Maybe the Lancastrians were possibly using cavalry because they had some French with them, but the English, they didn't like to use cavalry. Well, viewer, I would like to put to you that actually we don't know, but it's very likely that he did. And I'm going to go back to what I said at the beginning of the video to try and help illustrate this point. Okay, now when I first introduced this video, I went on a little bit of a ramble about how I would get from my house in within the M25 all the way across England in the matter of hours. I would say that none of you assumed that I was going to be walking to Tewkesbury with a tent on my back in a matter of 5 hours. I'm just going to think that that's probably the case. None of you are assuming that. I would say that probably most of you assumed in that situation that I am going by car. The fact that I mentioned the M25 gives a clue. If you're not English, the M25 is occasionally a road, sometimes a parking lot that surrounds London. So those are clues that give you an idea that I might have gone in the car. But the main reason that we all think that I'm going in the car is because we know that in our culture, if you need to go from one place to another in a short amount of time, you go by car. And if you're taking stuff for a whole weekend, you usually go by car. If I was going by train, I'd probably have said, okay, because that's the non-standard thing. Now here we have Edward sending a group of men-at-arms quite quickly. They need to be able to redeploy quickly. They need to get somewhere and react to the people that may be there or may not be, and also react to what is going on in the battlefield. Now, it doesn't say that these guys are cavalry. It doesn't say that they're horsemen, but I think that that is due to that being an assumption of the writer, that's the natural thing to do. Yeah, I don't say, oh, I'm going in the car to Tewkesbury, because you assume that that's what I do if I need to travel large distances quickly. In the same way, these men-at-arms need to travel large distances quickly. It is most likely that Edward is sending them as a cavalry unit, as a unit of horsemen, to go and do this. Later on in the battle, they then come and make their presence felt in the main lines, likely again charging as cavalry, because if you want a small group of people to make a large impact into enemy lines, then using them as cavalry is a useful thing to do. So I hope this was helpful. I hope this was food for thought when you're doing your own research and when you're reading up on medieval battles that have happened, especially ones in the UK. Maybe read them carefully and think about what assumptions is the writer making that maybe we might not be privy to, because we're not of the same culture anymore. What do you think, guys? Do you think the 200 spears were cavalry? Do you disagree with my assessment of that? Please do leave a comment down below if you think either way. Leave a like, share this video with other people that don't believe Englishmen ever rode horses, because I believe that they're wrong. And if you believe that they're wrong as well, then leave this video for them. And I'll hopefully see you soon in the next video. Bye bye.